9:70 AM पे वेलकम लिसनर्स, मैं हूं आपके साथ में ईरा। शो लेके आए हैं आपके लिए शाह पीर लॉ शो, वेयर वी आर वंस अगेन जॉइंड बाय अटॉर्नी शाह पीर हु इज द फाउंडर, प्रेसिडेंट एंड मैनेजिंग अटॉर्नी ऑफ द शाह पीर लॉ ग्रुप, which is right here in Newark. Attorney Shah Pir is a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association as well as the State Bar of California. He is a member of these organizations, and he does extensive work in the reasons that, for the things that he believes in, like he's a passionate advocate of human rights, civil rights, social action, social services, और बहुत ज़्यादा strong interest है उनका political और legal system का यहाँ पर US में. He formed his law group to work on the causes that he feels very strongly about. इनका जो law group है, Shah Pir Law Group, that focuses on immigration law with an emphasis on employment-based immigration, and he does help clients all over the US. उनके ऑफिसेज हैं न्यूयॉर्क में, सैन फ्रांसिस्को में और वॉशिंगटन DC में. सो लिसनर्स, अगर आपके पास में कोई सवाल है इमिग्रेशन को लेके, खास करके आपके एम्प्लॉयमेंट बेस्ड इमिग्रेशन को लेके, आप जरूर सवाल पूछ सकते हैं. आप कॉल कर सकते हैं हमें स्टूडियो नंबर पर 510-657-1170 पर. यह है स्टूडियो का नंबर. आप इस नंबर पे फोन करके 11 बजे से पहले कोई भी इमिग्रेशन का सवाल पूछ सकते हैं अपने केस के बारे में, या फिर कोई जनरल इंक्वायरी आपके पास है तो, या फिर अगर आप अटॉर्नी शाह पीर या उनकी टीम से बात करना चाहते हैं शो के बाद, यू कैन कॉल देम ऑन देयर ऑफिस नंबर 510-742-5887. दैट्स 510-742-5887. वेबसाइट है उनकी peerallylaw.com. दैट्स PEERALLYLAW.com. Without any further ado, Attorney Shah, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much again for this nice introduction. And today we're going to talk, of course, about immigration law. But before I start anything I'm going to tell you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions, and you can call our office 510-742-5887 if you have any questions or if you need any consultation. So today, as you know, so many things happening. We are in an election year, or I should say an election month now. We are very, very close to the election. Seriously, we don't, I don't know who's going to win, but well, we all know what is my preference, and many people who are listening also.
Yes, it has been no secret.
At the end of the day, it's having an impact, definitely, and good and bad sometimes, and unfortunately we are seeing a lot of things happening, and many people are getting frustrated what is happening, especially now on the H-1B. As you know now, with the new rule of H-1B, we are seeing some kind of weird things happening. It's an increase for those who don't. Well, most people know who are on H-1B that whenever you file an H-1B, you have to do an LCA, labor condition application. And we usually use the data center, FLC data center, to get the wage. And now if you look at the wage, we are talking about it's a 4-level kind of grade. Level 1 has increased by 45%, level 2 is 62%, and percentile wise, right? It was 17%, it went to 45% on level 1. It was level 2 was 34%, now it went to 62%, and etc. And this is really, really kind of hard. For example, taking some areas, not California, I just got those figures just to give an idea. Someone who was on level 1, 57,000, now is going to be 92,000, and 72,000, 121,000. What it means is like the employer has to pay that much in order to secure an H-1B for the employee. And as you know, right now we are in a COVID situation, business have gone down. It's very, very hard for small companies to really kind of meet those requirements, and those requirements, if are not met, you're not going to get an H-1B, which means more than 50% of people who are on H-1B and might not even be able to renew their H-1B now, and that's effective, I think, as from October 18th, if I'm not mistaken. And then also, if just to let you know, if your LCA has already been filed, prior to this, you're okay. But if the LC has not been filed and you're filing now, you are talking about a situation where either you will have to get an increase in salary, which is going to be very hard, and we're talking October 8th, by the way. If your LCA was filed before October 8th, I wanted to check the dates, then you can actually benefit from the lower end of this requirement. But now the question is that what will happen? I'm pretty sure there will be a bunch of lawsuits, just like everything else that comes from Trump. It ends up by getting blocked by a federal judge, and of course, for his followers, they think he's basically doing a great job, but the truth is that most of his stuff gets stuck in court and doesn't go further than that. But at the same time, it's putting a lot of pressure on people, and a lot of people are contacting me, what happens next now when I renew my H-1B? Well, if you renew your H-1B, it will affect you, definitely. So for those who already have their H-1B already signed, now it's going to be another issue. What happens when you transfer? Well, I think the same rule will apply on transfer because the new LCA has to be done. So we are talking about, so it is really kind of course, bad news, but let's hope things are going to get better. And also we are sure that, well, not sure, but I'm pretty sure there will be some lawsuit blocking that. But in the meantime, a lot of people are going to suffer. We're going to see that. After the good news of last week, now we have the bad news. So it is getting really frustrating for many people. Now, the question is that what do you do? Well, one of the options, of course, if you have an EAD, work on the EAD. If not, because definitely many employers will not be able to afford those high percentile, and it is going to be really frustrating for people who are already kind of working in a position, and because the company will tell them, hey, we can't keep you anymore, which means they'll have to find another job or quit, and that's where it's going to get really hard, because if all companies around there are not able to pay that kind of salary, which is going to be hard because it doesn't really make business sense to pay that kind of salary, and that means the company also will suffer, because it's not like a company can replace H-1B people that easily with people on EAD and things like that. So bottom line, we have to wait and see how this thing unfolds. But until then, in the next coming weeks, if you're filing an H-1B, you will have to do it with the new way, and that, of course, is going to be the challenge. A challenge that most people are not going to be able to overcome, because it's not really within their control. So please feel free, if you need any help, to give us a call, 510-742-5887. Any questions on your side, Aaron?
No, I don't have any questions. We were getting a call that got dropped. But listener, if you're still there, if you would still like to ask a question, definitely call us right back. Meanwhile, all the other listeners also, if you have any questions, you can call us right away on 510-657-1170. That's 510-657-1170. ये है स्टूडियो का नंबर. लेकिन अगर आप चाहते हैं कि अगर आप अटॉर्नी शाह या उनकी टीम से डायरेक्टली बात करें, कुछ डिटेल में डिस्कस करना चाहें, या कुछ प्राइवेट में आपको अपना केस उनसे डिस्कस करना हो या बात करनी हो, आप उनके ऑफिस नंबर पे फोन कर सकते हैं, 510-742-5887. We have a caller here. Let's see what they have to ask you. Hello, you're on air with Attorney Shah Pirali.
Hey, yeah, I have one question. So, when you file for I-485, after your application is filed with USCIS, can you travel outside the U.S.?
Okay, that's a very good question. First of all, whenever you file an I-485, you are technically not supposed to travel until you get an approved I-131 advance parole, because otherwise you can get the I-45 can deem to be abandoned. However, when you are on H-1B, there are few exceptions, so they will allow you to travel on that. But our recommendation, to be on the safe side, we're telling people to travel. until they get the advanced parole. I think we lost the caller again, right?
Yes, his call got dropped.
Yeah. Okay. So just to answer this question, if he's still listening, you can travel on your H-1B if you have an H-1B, but it's not recommended until you get the I-131, because if you look at the law, you're not supposed to. You have whenever you have a general I-485, because you didn't tell us what kind of I-485, you cannot travel without an advanced parole. So the best is to wait for the advanced parole before you travel.
Okay, I hope that answers your question. But listeners, if you have any other question या फिर कोई अगर आपको follow-up question हो, आप call कीजिए 510-657-1170 पर. We have Attorney Shah Pirali on air with us till 11 a.m. 510-657-1170. Hello, you're on air with Attorney Shah Pirali.
Yes, hi, how are you? Can I ask a question from Mr. Shah?
Sure, sir, please go ahead.
Go ahead.
Hey, Shah, this is Irfan. How are you?
Nice. I'm doing well, Irfan. I'm doing well. How about you?
Good, alhamdulillah. A quick question. There is a visa, I forgot the name, I don't know, it's E1 or which you get it from the country of origin. It's investor kind of visa. So can do you know which one I'm talking about? I need the name, which you...
Yes, the E2 visa. The E2 visa.
E2.
It doesn't apply for India, but for Pakistan, for Egypt, for Europe, they do have this. It's an investor visa. It doesn't give you a green card, but it's a very interesting visa because with an investment of around $100,000, you can come here with a family and you can run your business for a long time.
Right. So you have to apply from there. Do you need an attorney or it can be done? I mean, how does it work?
The E2 visa requires some work, especially on the part you will need you don't need an attorney for any visa, by the way, but it is recommended because a business plan, putting it together, and yes, it is applied, you can apply it inside the U.S. or outside. Outside is always better because then you get a multiple entry where you can travel with. But yeah, you don't necessarily need an attorney, but most people do use an attorney for the E2 because a lot of people...
If we hire an attorney here, so can they help with the person applying overseas?
Of course. We do a lot of those.
Attorney Shah, I can barely hear you. I'm just, you're fading in.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, of course you can do that. You can call me and we can take care of it.
Sure. And what's your good number to reach you, Shah?
Sir, you can call him on 510-742-5887.
Got it. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you. I'll be in touch.
Pleasure talking to you again.
Thank you and good luck. That's his office number. Listeners, office का number फिर से repeat कर दूं मैं 510-742-5887 और you will get all this information on the website peralilaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. Call on this number or log on to the website. For right now, the studio lines are open. The number is 510-657-1170. Let's continue. Attorney Shah.
Indeed, we had a question pretty much outside the scope, but we also have people on investor visas, depending on the country of origin. Unfortunately, India doesn't have that. I wish they did. And also, we can help also TN visa, you name it, pretty much. We can help. We'd be glad to help. So going back to our topic now, the new H-1B rule is a very drastic change. Pretty much all the stuff they have been, that the memo, I don't know, for people who have been filing H-1Bs, you remember when we had all those questions of a specialty occupation where they were blocking people saying, for example, your job doesn't qualify for a specialty occupation, or they will deny people saying that you don't have a degree in that area, in the field of your what you're pursuing as a job. For example, we have people who are civil engineers and they converted and become computer engineers. So what we will do, with the experience combined, we will do what we call a credential evaluation, where basically they will put emphasis on the software engineering, and then they are able to get the H-1B because the requirement is just a bachelor's degree. And and of course this got blocked by the court based on that memo. And now what the government has done, they have come back and basically put something pretty much directly to the point where they basically now, if you have a degree in other area, you won't be able to actually get what we call an H-1B, even if you already had an H-1B for years based on a different job. And that's going to create a lot of problems, because it was something very common back in the days where people will be graduating sometimes bachelor in some other areas, and ultimately they have experience in IT, they will get a job in IT, or vice versa, or something like that. So this is another thing that is going to be really tough on people. So the H-1B new rule is actually already a headache for people. What our hope is that this will be blocked by some kind of lawsuit, and hopefully that will change everything. So I will recommend that people who are really kind of trying to file their H-1B to run it by an attorney, even you have a company attorney. Sometimes it's good to have a second opinion. I can do that for you. You can give me a call. We can do a consultation at 510-742-5887. Now, I don't know. Do we have any other callers, Zaira?
No, not right at the moment. I'll let you know if you have a caller. Yes. Okay.
Then what we are seeing now is another problem that a lot of people are going to face. Now, if you have already an EAD, because now a lot of people are already filing their EAD, should people just shift to the EAD where you don't have all those restrictions on the salary, etc.? Because the EAD was filed probably under certain jobs, and the salary was certain amount, and even the salary is not met, as long as in the future the salary will be met, it is okay for the person to work on the EAD. So bottom line is, and now we are reaching a point where people always ask me the question when they were filing their I-485 adjustment of status, and should they move to EAD or continue on the H-1B? If your H-1B is already approved and you still have time on it, you can continue on H-1B. But if you're going to file a new H-1B or you're going to do a transfer, this is where the problem is going to start. So basically, I will recommend at this point, if you have the EAD and the salary is too high for your company to hire you, they cannot afford it, you can always use the EAD. But make sure you run it by the company attorney, or you can, of course, again call us and I can do a consultation and go over things with you. So this is where we stand now. Unfortunately, we are really at a turning point, and in 3 weeks, not even 3 weeks, right? Am I counting it right?
23 days, I guess.
It's very bit. So 3 weeks.
Everyone's counting days, honestly.
Yeah. Well, the truth is that it's not going to. As you know, America is pretty much the leader of the world. Even though now we have lost a lot of that. At the end of the day, there's a saying which says, when America sneezes, Europe catches a cold, and the rest of the world is pneumonia. So in this case, now the world has been getting a pneumonia lately because of all the bad things that has been happening. Now, of course, I know a lot of people will differ with me, but to be honest with you, I don't want to hear their opinion. It's no longer a democracy now. They can keep their opinion for themselves, because I know a lot of people tell me, okay, I have my right to my opinion. Good, you keep it for yourself. We don't want to hear it, because really, really, I'm getting tired of this. So much nonsense.
Everybody has a different opinion and no one talks facts. So yes, and you are right. It's about 3 weeks from now. It's October. It's November 3rd, and right now we're on October 14th. So there's a little bit of time. So basically the message for U.S. citizens like me and like my friends and everything, go vote. Just please. Vote, yes.
Yeah, vote. But vote the right person, okay? If you're going to vote the wrong one, don't go vote. Stay home. So I'm just joking here, but
that's the whole thing, Shah. I mean, not really how do you, but have you decided who is the right person or who's the wrong person? Not you. I know you. I know about your end.
You already know.
In the beginning, like you already said, right? Your opinion and your choice is no secret anymore. I mean, everybody knows what you think of whom. But yes, listeners like Shah said, just go out and vote for the right person who is right for this country, who is right for the people.
Exactly. And not only right for this country, it has to be right for the world. Because remember, whatever America does, the entire world is affected by that. And we're seeing so much craziness. A lot of politicians out there are just following the footsteps of Trump, and they're hurting their people. They're having racist stuff, and I'm seeing it so many places. I can. It's really depressing because what happened, America was basically the watchdog of everything in the world, and once that dog is basically out, you're seeing all those other thieves kind of taking advantage of it. And this is important. Not only vote for America, which is the first thing you have to do, but vote also for the world, because at the end of the day, we're going to see a whole entire system. An entire system has changed within 4 years, and now with COVID, it has gotten worse, and we're going to see a 2021 very, very tough. If we don't have good leadership, according to the World Health Organization, I just heard 100 million people are going to starve, and it's already happening. I see in the island of Madagascar, which many people don't talk about, in the south, people are starving. Nobody's talking about it, and they are starving, like no food. They can't even eat grass because they pretty much all. And this is also the people's fault, and the government is like a little bit corrupted. They sold all their timber to China, and now what happens is that the entire land has become arid and desert. Nothing is growing, and with the climate change, they are starving because those people depend on agriculture. They don't realize by destroying the forest the impact it has on life. They think, oh, you cut the trees, you'll plant something. No, the trees brings the soil. I'm going to go into my right here, but I'm just saying all this to bring back that people should understand why it's important to vote. It is very, very important that we have a change. And again, like I said, some people are going to tell me I don't agree with you, but honestly now, people like that, I don't care, because I really don't want to make them happy, because they don't need to be happy. We were unhappy for so many years. Time for us to be happy a little bit now. So now going back to our situation, and we are seeing this more and more happening on the immigration side. We saw some good news coming for whatever reason, and then now I think he saw. Let's be real. What has happened? I was talking about it a few weeks ago. I think Sharif also was saying that it's a political move, right? Yeah. And I think it didn't work. Still, he didn't get the votes of the Indian community.
Moving of the green card, EB3?
Yes.
In fact, I was going to ask you, when you said that, there has been some good news. So, EB3 category, the priority date got moved. It got rushed. That was one thing. And then last week, just before our show, the news came in that the minimum wages for the cap for H1B has been increased. So, and we weren't really sure if it's good or if it's not so good, because that definitely affects the hiring and the employment of H1B visa holders, and we weren't even sure if it's going to remain that way or if it's going to, maybe a reversal in a few days. Remember when you were saying that we're not sure, let's wait for a few days and see how it goes. So what eventually happened about it?
Exactly. They have not published the new visa bulletin, which is kind of rare, but we're still today is the 14th, so we usually get the visa bulletin on the 12th or so, but last month it went into the 25th, so we are not seeing anything so far. It might be bad news, because if they're taking so long, it means they're pretty much retrogressing things. So for people who get a chance to file right now, because I hope I'm wrong, by the way, but I think this thing is going to retrogress, because looking at the way it happened is very much my personal opinion again, and you don't have to believe me on that for the listeners, but I think it's a political move, and it didn't work actually. Trump was hoping to basically quote the Indian community, and with Kamala on the other side, and people are seeing to the truth, they are pretty much kind of deciding, and from what I see, most Indians are going with Biden and Kamala. So, and that now is what I call a punishment.
But see, the thing is, that's the thing here, Attorney Shah. The people who are supposed to vote, they don't care, about if it's EB1 or EB3 or if the priority date gets moved, because they are the citizens. They are not visa holders. And people who will get affected by these, the people who are visa holders, they don't get to vote. So how does it really matter? How does it really affect the elections?
Well, there are two things. You have to understand, there's a group that doesn't care. We call them pulling the ladder. Once they become citizens, they don't care about their community.
Okay.
There's another group which are really people who are caring, right? They don't care only about themselves, but they care about the entire community.
The community,
For the rest, right? Like, I'm a citizen, but I still care. It's not only because I am an immigration lawyer, but because I always care.
I'm sorry for putting it that way. When I said don't care, I meant that it doesn't affect them. So why should they? Yeah. Why should they really bother? They don't have a reason to bother.
Well, they do, because they always have one family member, one sister, one brother, one
trying
uncle
to come in,
that needs an H-1B. They also have businesses that depend on those H-1B. Many of our community are business people, right? So they get affected by this. So at the end of the day, but you're right on that part. How does it affect them? But the truth is that when people look at, unfortunately, Indians, they think H-1B right away. This has been like the signature now.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what they've been trying to do. They're trying to say, okay, if we please that community, well, that means we please the entire Indian community. But that's not really true 100%, because, like you said, the one who vote, they don't really get affected by the H-1B. But it was a gesture maybe, or things like that. And I might be completely wrong. It might just be a coincidence, but I doubt it's a coincidence. So
maybe they're counting on goodwill votes.
Yeah, maybe that. And the problem is, like, it is unfortunately so it is unfortunate that we are seeing so many things happening at the same time, and we really cannot really keep up with it, right? We saw a few weeks ago, we saw one good news. Now we're seeing big bad news, and how is it going to affect the community? How is the community going to deal with that? It's going to be another issue that we will have to deal with in the future. And the truth is that we have a problem. Like, we don't have one problem. That's the biggest thing that probably the world is facing. One of the biggest problem I see is that we are still thinking in terms of 2019, 2018. Life has changed. With the COVID, everything has changed. People who are in the tourism industry, the tourism industry is pretty much dead, which means the food industry attached to that, restaurant and everything, also will die as we go. And so many industries are going to die, but so many industries are going to come up too. The question is that how are we going to cope with that next year? Right now we're pretty much living on stimulus, right? US are in debt, other countries are in debt, India, same thing, Brazil, Pakistan, everybody is really suffering. Now, how the world is going to adjust to that, we're going to see what we call a new world order, quote unquote, not in terms of the conspiracy theory, but it is a new world order coming. It has already started pretty much since the COVID started. But now, whether Trump is here or not, what will happen next to immigration? Excuse me. Immigration, as I see it, there will be a push probably. If Biden takes over, he will still have to do concessions, but at the same time, he might have to be tough on certain things, right? And the question is that who's going to be suffering? We might see the Indian community or the legal immigration issues that we won't be able to cope with. Now, what will happen next is what a lot of people are hoping, the wall will come down from the Mexico wall, more trades will happen. That means more business coming in, more exchanges of goods, etc. But even we have all this, how do people travel with the COVID, right? We have really built up our own jail now, kind of, and we are stuck in that. So a lot of things are going to change even though we change government. People have to be ready for that. And what I see is the Silicon Valley will probably still do well because we have a lot of startups coming with ideas to help in all these problems. We have always been the pioneer in California to save the world, kind of. But at the same time, we have always been pioneer also to go down faster than everybody else because we are fast-paced and we also go down around the same kind of. That's what I see. So now, how will the immigrant community be affected by this?
Right.
I don't know really how things are going to unfold. Will Biden, if he takes power, reverse all those bad things? And that's what we are hoping. If that's the case, we're going to see a boom in the U.S. because a lot of immigrants want to leave their home country because it's harder there. Even though it's hard in the U.S., it's always harder outside. So they will try to come in, and when they come in, what this will do to the system. At the same time, if there should be a legal path, and what will happen to all those people who are here legally?
Yeah.
What happened to those jails where children are being incarcerated? So all this hope are coming with Biden, but let's see how much he's going to really be able to reverse. Now, having said that, now we are also expecting some tough rules. Like under Obama, he was very tough on employment base. Although he was making things very smooth, he was tough on people who were committing fraud mostly. Mm-hmm. And that's something we have seen a lot. There was a lot of investigation, a lot of sting operations, but at the same time, it cleared a lot of those bad kind of blood on the market. And for that, we have to be thankful. And also, we are hoping that the students will start coming back. And if students start coming back, it's a lot of money for the U.S., and that also kind of keep the system rolling. Now, I'm just speculating what will happen because everything will be determined by what happens to the COVID. Now, if a vaccine is found pretty fast and is able to be distributed, things are going to move faster. The world might come back, and that means immigration also will be easier. But we have a lot of other problems because all the bad that has been done is going to be very hard to reverse because not only we have affected the system, corruption has taken place really, really high, and plus also we have climate change issues.
Yep.
We have that's another major thing because people don't realize climate change will cause migration. It's already happening. Some countries have like countries like Maldives, a small island, and they are going to be under the sea in 20 years or so. So they had to save money to buy land to move their people. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are also, like countries like Bangladesh, who are lower and are going to face major drought. And that means people are going to pour in other countries, like India, Pakistan, Nepal, will have to absorb those people. And that will create a lot of conflicts. And this is all the same thing. And people from there now will want to come to America. So how is the government going to deal with that? How many people will they be able to absorb? Will that cause civil unrest? So all those things we have to think about before we think that, okay, immigration will be fixed overnight. It won't be fixed because it's never been broken, by the way. A lot of people think the system is broken. It's not been broken, right? Because the system worked. It worked for years. It worked for many of us. The system slowed down when we had an overflow. But the system keep going, and now with the virus, the COVID-19, we have seen the flaws of the system. But at the same time, many of the flaws are basically self-inflicted, Like, for example, people on H4 filing for an extension, this was something very smooth. But then Mr. Trump introduced, the administration introduced the fingerprint. And now you have a problem with the fingerprint units because they can't do the fingerprint. So you're seeing all this delay because of that. And now, by the way, I think they introduced a premium on the H4, and I'm not sure. I'm trying to get the exact information on that, but I think it's there. But I have not really gotten it officially on the USCIS website. So I'm waiting on that to really kind of tell people, yes, you can go for it. But it is there. It seems you can actually file for a premium on H4. Just wanted to first confirm that. So now going back, I talked a lot about politics and the system and everything. Going back to our issues that our people are facing right now is the issue of the H-1B. That's major because most companies will not be able to actually help people basically able to absorb this labor because of the high wage. And that's sending a huge shock in the industry. But again, the hope is that we're going to see some lawsuits coming up soon. But just
that's what I was asking you. Like when this report came out, when this news came out last week, we were not even sure if it's good or bad or if it's going to stick around. So, but clearly it was going to affect the H-1B hiring. So not such a good news for H-1B visa holders.
Yeah, H-1B and anything attached to H-1B, which means also H-4, etc., and companies.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole family, everything gets affected. That's right.
But for those who already have the extension and they're still working for the same companies, they are not affected. For those who filed a transfer and extension prior to October 8th, they're not affected.
It's with the new hiring, right?
Yeah, it's for new hiring, not new hiring, only transfers. That means if you're moving from one company to another, extensions, they are affected definitely because the LCA is very, very high. Now, overcoming that is almost impossible unless we get hopefully a judge blocking that. I have not seen any lawsuits so far, but I'm very confident it will come. Unfortunately, I don't do those kind of lawsuits. Otherwise, I'll probably file one. But I'm pretty sure that big ones are going to really kind of push for that because they're not going to agree to pay such a high salary. Which means if you don't get paid a high salary, that means they cannot hire you. If they don't hire you, then you don't have an H-1B. If you don't have an H-1B, you have to go back home. So this is where things are going to get tricky. Well, if you don't have an H-1B and you're waiting, give us a call. We'll see if we can have other options for you instead of the H-1B. For example, the O-1 visa is another option.
Okay.
And me and Sharif talked about that before. The O-1 doesn't have this requirement. So if someone qualifies for a company, if someone has one of your employees do qualify for that, and you can run it by us to check that. We can actually file an O1 and you don't have to be on the H-1B. So
that's the one for special skills, right?
Yeah, it's actually for extraordinary abilities, but it's not really that much extraordinary like people think. It's just you have to meet certain requirements. And many people do qualify, they don't even know, they never needed it. But now they might need it because of all the issues. Just to let people know, O1 is O1A and O1B, they're all actually dual intent visa. That means you can pursue your green card while you have them.
Okay.
So if you need help on that, give us a call, 510-742-5887. Any callers right now?
Not right now. Let me repeat the numbers once again. Listeners, the number for office, Sharp Pirelli Law Group's office is 510-742-5887. That's 510-742-5887. And if you'd like to speak to Attorney Sharp Pirelli right away, the number to call is 510-657-1170. That's 510-657-1170. इस नंबर पे फोन करके 11 बजे से पहले आप कोई सवाल पूछ सकते हैं इमिग्रेशन को लेके, because we do have Attorney Sharp Pirelli on air with us till 11 a.m. And if you need more information about his practice, definitely log on to the website peerallylaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. We are about 14 minutes away from the end of our show, probably 13 and a half rather. So let's continue. And Attorney Shah, I mean, if you have time, if you still have time on the show before we wrap up, would you like to go over the overview on visa again about the special abilities? Because when you said they're not as extraordinary as people think, so and they don't have to be maybe out of this world. So if you could go ahead and probably shed some more light on that once again. I know we spoke about it in the past, but for those of our listeners who probably missed it last time.
The O1 are for aliens of extraordinary ability or achievement, right? You have to meet a number of requirements, which I cannot really go through in the next 10 minutes.
Okay.
What I'll do is probably we'll have Sharif, because he's the expert on the O1, so I'll have him talk about that next week because he will be there. But just to let you know, the idea of O1, just the requirements are very much like an EB1. But the truth is that it's not that strict. So it's like you have to meet out of 10, you have to meet 3 of the requirements.
Okay.
For example, if you have publications, you have awards, you have contributed any kind of original scientific, scholarly, or business contribution. And you have published, if you have any membership, okay, I'll just go very quickly.
Okay.
You have documentation that you have recognized national or international prizes, right? And if you have documentation on membership or associates to some big in disciplines, like for example IAAA, etc. If you have published any material in professional or publications, and if you have any material participating in any panel or judge the work of others. Just to let you know, judge the work of others doesn't mean you have to sit as a judge. It's just like someone, even in your field, working in your company, you have reviewed their work.
Evaluating, okay.
Yeah, not really evaluating, but you have reviewed and you have participated, then yes, it's kind of evaluating, but a little bit more there.
Okay.
And if you have also original scientific publications, not publications, but you contributed. For example, you contributed in some major app or some major things like that, we can use that. And if you have been employed in a critical or essential organization, like for example a big company, etc. And also the thing that we really use, interestingly, is the salary. If you have commanded a high salary, most of the people in the Bay Area who work in that field do command a high salary. Some of them don't even know because they think it's normal. It's not normal if you look at the salary of most Americans out there. So that's one thing we use very often. Publications is another one we use quite often too. And also prizes. Sometimes people don't realize they might be having major prizes in some major from some major recognized institution, and they have participated in panels. We just need 3 of them, right? So if we meet those 3 requirements and we can prove it, guess what? You will get your O1 visa. And the standard of proof is a little bit lower than getting the EB1. But the good thing is that if we do the O1, we might be able to do an assessment for an EB1A for you, which doesn't require any employer, and we can get you a green card. And the dates are almost current. So all those good stuff are there, but people, they don't ignore it, but most people have been so used to the H-1B, and unfortunately, when there's a trend, people tend to do that. And of course, if 1 or 2 people fail in the O1, so they get worried, they don't want to fail on that. And it's of course cost a little bit higher to do an O1 than to do an H1.
Okay.
So bottom line, people should look into that. And for people who are on maybe TN visa, I have not seen the TN visa on the list of the changes because there's no requirement like the H1B, etc.
Which visa?
Yeah,
TN visa?
TN visa are for people who are Canadian citizens or
Okay.
Mexican citizens.
Okay.
Right? They can come here, and it's easier to get. It's just a letter. They take it at the border and they come and work here. And it's unlimited in time, but it doesn't lead to a green card. However, there are ways we can deal to upgrade and get on the green card path. At a later stage, you might have to shift to another visa. But at the end of the day, the TN1 visa is the TN1, Tom Nancy number 1.
Okay.
And this is an option. The O1 visa is another option. J1, of course, which I don't really recommend. But there are E2 visa, for example, like this person asked earlier, the investor visa. Then there are the E3 visa. Unfortunately, the E3 visa are just for Australia, but these also have been kind of same situation as H1B. They have increased the percentile.
Okay.
And also for H1B1, which are for Singapore and Chile, they have a special kind of quota. They also have an increase. So there are other options we can look into. They have not met, of course, the L1 doesn't form part of that, so you can always look into L1 visa, L1A or L1B. So just don't stick to the H1B because it seems it's getting harder and harder to deal with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that people are ignoring this. Maybe they just don't have the knowledge about or information about it. So, really thank you for coming and talking about these options, because when people are listening, they're like, Acha, this is also an option that I did not know about. So let me talk to the attorney. Let me see what are my options. For example, this O1 visa. I'm not sure if a lot of people knew about this thing. Also, when you read extraordinary ability, it might, it does make you think that you have to be an artist of some sort, or you have to be an overachiever, or maybe a national award winner or something. So that's why when you come and talk and when you say that it's not as extraordinary as it seems to be, that really opens up a lot of options and doors for people. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, you're welcome. That's very nice of you. But yeah, this is the truth. The problem with immigration, it's so vast that most people don't know it all.
Yeah.
Even I know a lot, I don't know it all. The truth is, many times people take the wrong path because they don't know they have a right path in front of them. And it ends up getting more difficult for them. I had clients coming to me. I remember I have a little anecdote in that.
Okay.
A client came to me. He was actually from South India.
Okay.
Somewhere from South India. I don't want to give you the place, but he was really desperate. He was very educated, and they filed an H1B for him, and it got denied because they say a company like that doesn't need someone who's so qualified.
Okay. He was overqualified.
So, yeah.
Okay.
And then he was crying, literally crying, and he told me, Sesha, I don't really know what to do anymore. I took loans, I came here, and now I don't want to go back. What am I supposed to do? And he had only few because they were filing an extension. He got the first H1B, but they didn't want to give him the extension. So when I look at his case, I saw that he does qualify for a national interest waiver. And then what I did at that time, I just went ahead and say, you know what, forget about a visa, let's go straight for a green card. And he was looking at me like I'm
crazy or something.
He's crazy. I can't get an H1B, now I'm going to get a green card. I said, no, let me give it a shot on that. And since the dates were current, I told him I can file the adjustment of status. It will be pending, and he will get an EAD. At that time, the EAD was coming in within 6 weeks. So I went ahead and filed it, and then he got the EAD. And since national interest waiver, there's no premium it takes. He told me that's good enough for me. At least I can save the money now and start getting ready to go back. So reaching around the 10th month, he called me back. He said, Shah, now I'm ready to go because I saved enough money. I can go back. I said, wait a little bit, few more months now. Let's see how things work out. Actually, the case got approved. He got a green card, and he stayed.
There you go.
And this is why I'm telling people sometimes running things by an attorney because the right attorney should have solutions, right? You can't just go there and say, I want an H1B. No, you can't get an H1B. That's it. No, he has to look into other avenues, right? O1 visa, L1 visa, J1, and you name it. And some people qualify for U visa, for example. U visa for people who are victims of crimes. People don't know that. I had another client, another anecdote on that. He came to me and same situation. He was desperate and he was telling me, "Oh my, it's very bad. My luck. I lost my job, my H-1B. I lost my job and bad luck to me. I went to the store and someone put a gun on my head and now I lost money. I had to give up money." And I said, "Hold on a second." And then I really find out he just got robbed at gunpoint. I said, "Then don't worry, we won't send you back. We'll file a U visa."
Good for you. You got robbed.
Yeah, actually, no. Yeah, it was kind of stressful, but actually, at that time U visa was going pretty fast, so we got it approved within a couple of months. He got the U visa, and then after that, 3 years later, he was able to file for a green card. So he came from an H-1B where he couldn't get a green card for years because the dates were retrogressed, but the U visa was pretty much current, so he got his U visa. He actually now, I think he's already a citizen now because that was a long time ago. So these are the kind of things that you have to look at. You cannot just stick yourself to one visa because everybody's going for that. You go for it. Like right now, people who are downgrading to EB3, a lot of people are downgrading to EB3 when their EB2 is very close. So it might not be really a good idea because what will happen to EB3, definitely because there will be so many applications, it will retrogress. But EB2 will continue probably moving because it's slowly but surely. So bottom line, it's always good to talk to an attorney who has experience in those cases to really evaluate your situation, not just be a follower. Everybody's doing that, I'm going to do the same. No, it doesn't work this way. Fortunately, actually, it doesn't work this way because otherwise, when everybody goes down, you will go down with them. But if you have a backup, you are safe. So I recommend that you talk to your attorney or talk to an attorney who has experience in basically finding solutions, not someone who's just going to tell you this will work, this will not work. He has to basically know the answer, and that's why people pretty much call us mostly because they want to have the solution, at least an option. And there's so many things going on out there. It's not that black and white, and you want to really kind of look deeply. What are your options? The options can be an employment, can be humanitarian like the U visa, can be also VAWA petitions, things like that. So you need to look into all this. Just don't give up and say, hey, I can't get anything, I'm going back. Most people don't want to go back, but at the same time, they're not looking for the option. So
you're right. Most people don't want to go back, but like we also discussed before, it is the lack of information, it's the lack of knowledge that people don't know they have options. And since let's say if somebody who has come here on H-1B has always been on H-1B, maybe they don't even know what other options they have, that they do qualify for different things also, like the two anecdotes that you just now gave. So that's why, listeners, you need to speak to a professional, you need to speak to an experienced attorney who has dealt with these things and who can give you your options. Attorney Shah, we are 30 seconds away from the end of the show, so I'll have to thank you for being here for today. We are at the end of the show, so thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye. We'll be back next week.
Definitely. I'll speak to you next week. And listeners, definitely remember to call Attorney Shah Pirali on his 742-5887. That's 510-742-5887. The website is piralilaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. He will be back with us next week, same time, same place, yani ki every Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. only on Radio Zindagi. Jiya ja.